Hello, everyone. I hope you enjoyed that little rendition of a song I'm trying to write on the ukulele. This is just an instrumental at the moment and is a lot shorter than I hope the song will be. But uh, I am trying to brainstorm some topics and some lyrics for writing a song that would go with that tune. At the moment, I all I can think of are all the words I can think of are relatively cheesy, and I don't want to just kind of um, wimp out on this. I want it to actually be a legitimate song. So, if any of you out there are poets or songwriters and you have suggestions, hit me up. If you just have a suggestion on what topics I might be able to write the song on, be sure to let me know in the comments or in the chat. But that is something I've been working on for a while, and I'm pretty happy with how it's sounding. And so I'm not sure. I might end up just having it where it's sort of like a spoken word over top of it because I can't really think of a tune that would keep up with the pace of it. But I want it to be emotionally correct with the sound of the song. That's just a general update on what I'm doing with my music. In terms of the AI, I once again have not made much improvements on the AI in total. But my summer A classes just finished up. I don't have any finals anymore, so once I get into the swing of things in the new class that I'm moving into for summer B, I should have a little bit more time in order to work on my AI projects and other projects like my comic, which I once again have been slightly slacking on, although I have made a little bit more progress. But that's not the overall purpose of today's stream. Today's stream is to talk about something I'm very passionate about, and I may have given a little bit of teasers in the posts that I put on Facebook and in the title here, but this is something that I wanted to dedicate a entire slot of time in order to talk about. So this is the only topic that I will be talking about, but I will be playing a quick ad and then I'll move into that topic as I get set up with the screen here. So I'll be right back. Not sponsored. All right, I believe we're back. So, if you have noticed anything about the posts I've been putting on Facebook, you might have an idea of what I'm about to talk about, but I would like to sort of set the scene here. So, I am currently a mechanical engineering student at the University of Central Florida. So, I'm not an engineer yet, but I would like to say I am a prospective engineer, and I would like to make the claim that through the credibility of my passions and my experience through school and whatnot, I have brought myself to become somewhat of a practical thinking and logical person. So I always find it interesting to look at the designs of some appliances and maybe the designs of buildings and just think about the practicality of why someone would make something a certain way as opposed to a simpler way that may also be more effective. So this comes into play when you look at things like how bathrooms are laid out, where the toilets are, because sometimes you'll have like a toilet over in a corner, and then it when someone walks in the door, it'll be completely visible, and there's no privacy. So there's little practicality things like this that just sort of get on my nerves when I see them, and it's probably just me as a prospective engineer and a practical thinking person um, seeing these, and it just kind of irks me to the core. But considering current events, there has been a lot of questions of practicality when it comes to perhaps the UK leaving the EU, or even the debates in gun laws with the recent shootings. But I think there's a topic that a lot of people don't really think about ever. And so I would like to bring it up because it's something that I feel very passionate about. And that topic is the impracticality of electric soap dispensers, or automatic soap dispensers specifically. So this may sound like somewhat of a petty argument, but I hope to show you or enlighten you on the impracticality of these devices. So just picture this. I have the paint window up here. I'll draw a nice diagram here. We'll get the play-by-play, get the John Madden style bathroom schedule. So obviously I am a male, so this will be from the male perspective, but I would believe that it would transcend across the gender barrier. So you come into your restroom here, and we'll just design ourselves a restroom here. And obviously you have this cutout in the wall, so you can have the bathrooms. These circles will be the toilets, and so you got a stall, and then you get the rest of the bathroom, and you have your sink here with the vanity, and maybe there's another tiny wall with another urinal here back here, and this is a mirror. And so you have your sinks, and then maybe you have your soap dispenser here, and perhaps a dryer, a hand dryer over here. So let's just think about the normal path that someone would go through in order to use the restroom. And so in traditional John Madden style, I will grab the yellow pen and we will start drawing a path. Let me get this a little thicker for authenticity's purposes. So we're going to have our normal everyday person come in here, and assuming it's a guy, then maybe he'll go use the urinal, and then he comes back and he uses the soap dispenser, and he grabs some soap, and then he turns on the faucet, and the water flows out. Ignore that splotch over there and that splotch that I didn't see. And so after this person uses the sink, they will come over to here, dry their hands in the hand dryer, or perhaps grab a towel, and then exit the restroom. So this is a general path. I mean, if it were a female, then these would just be stalls and it would be the same process. So what you'll see is that there are many situations where someone could generate or acquire bacteria on their hands, and it is important that, and we always teach our children to wash their hands upon leaving the restroom, because of sanitary purposes. It helps to not spread diseases. It helps to improve the immune system, due to the fact that the immune system is not constantly fighting these bacteria, so it can actually build up. But I would like you to actually analyze the process of where you collect germs and where you get rid of them. So you can collect germs here, you can collect germs here, and so at any point in time over by the toilets, and then a lot of people will put in automatic sinks so that you don't have to turn the sink off when you're done washing your hands. This makes sense, because if you are done washing your hands are clean and you don't want them to become dirty again. But the soap dispensing process happens prior to, so this is number one, and then this is number two. In the timeline of using the restroom, you have your timeline here. You have enter, and then you use the toilet, and then you use the soap, and then you use the sink, and then then you exit the door. So we have this process, and you will see that this is the point in time when your hands become clean. So having a soap dispenser that you don't have to touch is completely pointless, because if you don't touch it, or if you touch it, it doesn't matter, because you're going to clean your hands here. So this is a thing that it's a completely pointless invention, because it would be extremely more cost effective to have a pump action soap dispenser that can get the job done and can give you soap, and then you clean your hands and then you exit. So despite my argument, there are some arguments for automatic soap dispensers, so I will go over these. So I'll clean the slate here. If we have an automatic soap dispenser, right? So let's say we have this is the normal soap dispenser. It's got the little lever here. This is soap, and then you have a automatic soap dispenser. It's a little curved around the edges. It's got the little spigot here, and then it's so this soap dispenser squirts the soap out, and this soap dispenser squirts the soap out, and so this is soap 3000 HD, the automatic soap dispenser. So now we will weigh the pros and cons of these devices. So this is simple. It is cheap, and it is user. Okay, so we'll give the user friendly to the automatic soap dispenser, just because it does stuff for you. And then if we think about which one is more effective at dispensing soap, I wouldn't necessarily say that one is more effective than the other, so we'll keep that off the board. One thing that is the argument for most automatic soap dispensers is that it is fancy or it is futuristic. And we did have a comment in the chat saying it's cool when the soap dispensers dispense the soap itself. That was from Technicarly. And that is very true. People enjoy the futuristic feel of soap dispensers dispensing soap by themselves just from you putting your hands under them. And so now we should weigh this argument against the impracticality that I have already brought up. So let's think about it. The reason that people would get an automatic soap dispenser that has any practicality is because it will make your bathroom look fancy, and when bathrooms look fancy or futuristic, they are viewed as more clean or more credible or more reliable, and that's understandable because that's a big deal in like a restaurant. You want to have a clean looking bathroom. You want people to have a good experience in the restrooms so that it doesn't affect the experience with your actual product, which is buying and eating food. So this is a decent argument, but I would like to analyze this argument slightly. So if you have this idea that it looks futuristic, then one, if the regular soap dispenser is properly designed and ergonomically created, it will also look futuristic, and it can have that same credible effect. Now, I don't have any examples of soap dispensers that are artistically designed. That would be something that you might want to research on your own to see if there are any out there. But the thing is, having all those mechanisms inside doesn't necessarily make it reliable, because what happens when you're engineering a device, it actually is usually better to go on a simpler scale, because when there are more processes happening, there's more room for failure. And so what can happen is the automatic soap dispenser, if it doesn't dispense soap, then this will cause an opposite effect on the people that are entering and exiting your restroom. And so you may make the argument that this could very well happen with a regular soap dispenser, because regular soap dispensers break all the time. And I would like to question whether this is a problem with soap dispensers or whether this is a problem with customers and the logic of the actual consumer that is using the devices. Because the reason that automatic soap dispensers don't the only reason that an automatic soap dispenser wouldn't break when a normal soap dispenser would break is because someone may use the soap dispenser forcefully. Now, this is true, but that may be because you didn't buy a efficiently designed soap dispenser that is prepared for a beating. So, I mean, this is a problem that you're always going to have happening with people. But let's say that this happens because a drunk person walks into the bathroom and doesn't know their own strength. Well, the same thing is going to happen if you have an automatic soap dispenser, because the drunk person won't necessarily understand that it will be automatic, and they may shove their hand there anyway and break the device anyway. So that is my claim. Now, that's not a very solid argument, but I would like to make the argument that bathrooms can have the effect of futuristic and clean, without having this impractical device of an automatic soap dispenser. And the way you can do this is with different automatic devices. If you have everything else in the bathroom automatic, then having a soap dispenser that doesn't automatically dispense it won't change anybody's perspective on the idea. So this is something that I find interesting, because I have personally been to restaurants and been to places where they will have nothing automatic except for the automatic soap dispenser. Now, this doesn't make sense at all, and this is something I'm definitely arguing against. I can understand if everything in your bathroom is automatic and you make the soap dispenser automatic just to kind of fit the feel of the room. I'm okay, I'll live with that. But if the only thing that is automatic in your bathroom is an automatic soap dispenser, you have made the wrong decision. Because the advantage of automatic soap dispensers is that they only dispense a certain amount of soap per dispense, and they and so in a sense that may make you think that you would save soap because it's on a timer. But if someone takes their hand out and puts it back, it will dispense more soap. And so this doesn't necessarily save you any soap in that sense. If you and so it is a foam soap. It is sort of it's foam soap dispensers are somewhat more efficient, but you can get a foam pump action soap dispenser. They sell those at Walmart. It's not very difficult to get. So to have a wall mounted one wouldn't be that much more difficult to design, and may even be easier because it is larger. Um, but at the same time, if we think about th- um, if we think about the other appliances that could be automatic in the bathroom and how those are more efficient on a microeconomic scale, let's consider the possibilities. So, what things do you have in the bathroom? You have a sink, you have a toilet. I mean, need to make sure that this is on. I spelt that backwards. I added an extra T. You have a toilet, you have a door, and you have a soap dispenser. And so these are your four things that you have to decide about when you are designing a bathroom. And so, what are the worries with these different appliances? Well, with the door, one big worry is bacteria. And so that's a worry with the sink, and that's a worry with the toilet. This is not a worry with the soap dispenser. So, um, and oh, okay. So there was a comment in the chat that's saying, don't forget about the paper towel dispensers or the hand dryers. So we'll add those in here. And so this we can also analyze this appliance. So this is after the hand washing process, and so we can agree that there would be a problem with bacteria. Now, this is we can you can make arguments that the toilet isn't really a question of bacteria because you are washing your hands afterwards. So just for the sake of creating an argument here and being fair, I will take that off of the margin. But let's consider other things that are involved. So bacteria is basically the only concern with the door, simply because it is after the hand washing process. But with the sink, you also have a question of wasting water. So water. With the toilet, you have a question of wasting water. And with the soap dispenser, you have a question of wasting soap. But I just mentioned that an electric soap dispenser wouldn't necessarily change the process. It would. I don't know why the A is first. Uh, an electric soap dispenser wouldn't necessarily change the process. It would simply make gaining more soap slightly more annoying. So it is a slight advantage in that sense because it does save soap on that scale. But if we look at our other um, processes, you have you have bacteria, which is completely understandable. So this is a big one. The door is a must. So if you have an automatic door, one that will look very futuristic because it is a large appliance, and it's something that everyone has to use. People can avoid using the sink, although people can still open the door on their own. But if you have an automatic door, then it's something that people have to walk through constantly. So it is an appliance that is important. And if you make this automatic, it will give the effect that your bathroom is futuristic and all that shebang. So if we have the sink, there's a question of bacteria because if you turn it off and you have to touch it again, then you obviously are putting bacteria back onto your hand after you've cleaned it. So that's a problem. But there is also a problem with water if the sink is left on because people are questioning the sanitary or the cleanliness of the sink, then it is going to be wasting water, which is one, bad for the environment, and two, it is bad for your wallet because if you are constantly pouring water down the drain, then it is not there to be used later. And we are lucky to live in a country where water is a relatively renewable resource, but at the same time, it does cost money. So that is a big problem. So a sink is a very valid option for becoming an automatic appliance because if it's something that turns itself on and turns itself off, then that is only dispensing the exact amount of water that is necessary to clean someone's hands, because the minute they remove their hands, the sink turns off and and the water is saved. A toilet that automatically flushes. So this bacteria concept, I would like to replace with a different idea that is necessary for consideration, and that is aesthetic. Because if you have a toilet that someone has used and they do not flush the toilet, then this will cause a problem that is it will cause a bad experience for the people using your facilities, and this is something that can affect the entire experience at your restaurant or at your store. And so just because one customer before them chose not to flush, that's not necessarily your problem, but if you take it out of their hands, then it's no longer a problem at all. So an automatic toilet plus the bonus of you can program it to you only flush once or something like that. It will save you money, and it will save you the customer experience um, during their time in the restroom. So the paper towel is the paper towel dispenser or the hand dryer is after the hand washing process. So bacteria is a main concern. And also, there is the question of using too much paper towels. Paper is something that we don't necessarily want to uh, be throwing so much out of because we have a problem with trash in America. And so this is a big check because having an automatic hand dryer as opposed to a as opposed to having um, a manual paper towel dispenser. It will help the overall effectiveness of your paper towels or energy being used, and it can be automatic, just to get that aesthetic of futuristicness. But the soap dispenser, all it really has going for it is this idea of adding to the aura of futuristicness, and the saving of soap. Which mind you, soap is not very expensive, especially when bought in bulk and in the packages used for automatic soap dispensers. So I would make the claim that out of all of the appliances in the restroom, the soap dispenser is the least important in terms of making automatic. Now, we are getting a lot of comments in the chat. I will read through these just real quick to make sure they're not calling anything out that I've mentioned wrong. Another consideration. So this is just a comment about another way that toilets can be automatic. If the actual seat in the normal toilet goes down and up on its own, then this can save from a bacteria problem. Um, but I have seen, actually, being on a college campus, there are some toilets that actually have a dual flush system where it will have a more economic flush and a more powerful flush in order to get the job done when necessary. So um, it was mentioned that it was, so it's not on its own. But um, uh, so we're getting a lot of comics. Sorry, it's a little overwhelming, but um, yeah. So it is important for the toilets overall to be uh, a clean experience, simply because it helps the overall experience of the consumer. But the experience is not necessarily affected too much by the soap dispenser. So I feel like I'm dwelling a little bit long on this topic, and I need to move on a little bit. But I hope that I have given a decent argument already. So I will give a general overview and see if there are any more ideas that need to be covered. So the claim is that soap dispensers are uh, not important in making soap dispensers automatic does not necessarily gain any practicality in terms of the appliances. The reason that soap dispensers will be made automatic is simply for an add to the aesthetic and the futuristic feel of the restroom, which gives off an aura of cleanliness. But at the same time, a normal soap dispenser will get the job done, because if designed correctly and engineered with a uh, user friendly uh, user friendly basis in mind, the pump action soap dispenser can do all of the can achieve all of the pros of the automatic soap dispenser while still being cheap, still being effective, and still being efficient. So, as a prospective engineer, I would like to now open up the conversation, because I believe that society is moving towards a quick paced engineering and inventing society that doesn't necessarily sit back and ask the right questions when creating these appliances. Because when we put these out into society, people will immediately receive the awe of these devices. But that doesn't necessarily mean that they are achieving what they have been put out to achieve. So I would like to sort of put out a call to action to question the normal everyday appliances, because just because it's the norm doesn't mean that it's necessarily correct and effective. So if you have any experiences with appliances that have been claimed to be uh, new and improved and may actually just be impractical and overcomplicated, put that in the comments, and I will maybe pick out a couple stories if I see some that amuse me and hit to home with the topic, and I will mention those. But I think that I have beaten this topic dry, so I am going to play a quick ad and move into my final topic of the day, which is my normal segment where I do my random drawing. So I'll be right back. Okay, I believe we're back. I'm just getting the calculator set up to get the random numbers. I have my sheet out, and I would like to say that I am starting to reach exhaustion with the possibilities here. Although, according to permutation and combination, there are an extremely large amount of possibilities, but I don't necessarily want to reuse words. So I may be creating a new list here. If you have any suggestions for nouns, verbs, adjectives, or adverbs, then you can post those in the comments, and I will be sure to consider them for the next sheet. This one was relatively quickly made, so if you have any interesting things that are really random and will spice up the conversation and the drawing, I am very open to the suggestions. So we will get right into this. The first number is 13, which is skyscraper, which we have not seen yet. And the second number is 11, which is tango. I do believe we have seen that already, so I will get a different word. Um, we have number 6, which is explain. So that fits right in with the topic the of the stream and of the channel in general. And the third number is 16, which is haunted. And so this sounds like a relatively straightforward drawing, but we will see how it goes. So, right, we have to decide what is actually being haunted. Is it the skyscraper, or is the skyscraper what is actually haunting someone else? That may be a more impractical possibility, but I would like to consider the realm of possibility because it is sort of in the fashion of Adventure Time, one of my favorite shows, to have all things inanimate and animate uh, somewhat be able to haunt. So that is something that I think we might be able to play around with. So I would like to explain how a skyscraper may haunt someone. Now I'm not sure how well this will go, but we'll start drawing. So if we're going to draw a skyscraper, we can draw it in a three-dimensional fashion. If we draw a rectangle and then we offset it and draw a secondary rectangle and parallel, but in a opposite or in a different plane of existence. And so now we have our skyscraper with our windows, and this will be a three-story skyscraper with windows in the back, and I think that you get the idea, but I will just finish this out for completion's sake. So there's the roof up here, and so obviously if this skyscraper is haunting something, then we first must think of how it was destroyed or brought out of existence. Now, what tends to happen with our growing society and our lack of new space to move into, it is important that we reuse the space that we currently have, because moving into uh, more areas of the environment is bad for the animals that live there. It is important that we keep our nature, uh, we give nature space so that evolution can take its course without our uh, involvement. Now, so what might happen to a skyscraper? Well, if a skyscraper is bought out by another company or whatever, whoever owns it, they may want to put a different building on this plot of land. And so what will happen is um, they will bring in the demolition team. But what tends to happen with larger buildings is you can't just knock it down because of the carnage that would happen if there were another building over here and the building were to fall and cause explosions and destruction on this building. So what people tend to do, they will hire someone who knows what they're doing and not someone who doesn't know what they're doing, and they will set charges at various points in the building so that the building can be imploded. Now, one would think from the movies that these charges would cause an explosion, but if the charges are put in the correct positions, the building will actually collapse inward on itself and uh, and reduce uh, the total carnage of the destruction of the building. So the building will fall and cause a big heap of rubble. And the reason that I know that buildings are imploded is because the place I was born was actually imploded several years ago. I would have thought it would be a national monument by now, but they thought otherwise. So um, this building will be imploded. But if we have our idea of a skyscraper haunting something, then perhaps this skyscraper will ascend into the 50th Dead World, and it will be a ghost skyscraper. And is this on the page? It is. And so I will draw this ghost skyscraper here, and it is mad because it used to exist, but now it doesn't. And so we have our slightly smaller but still menacing skyscraper that is now going to haunt the new building that comes into this plot of land. So we will redraw our plot of land over here. Sorry, I will grab the black. And so now perhaps if we have a playground being put on this plot of land with a seesaw and a slide, then the children will be playing on the playground, and they will have their little spring horses. I'm not okay. It's a spring frog, I guess. But then this angry skyscraper spirit will float on into the new plot of land and begin scaring children. And so this is problematic. It is seen in many communities because the children have never experienced the building due to their young age and lack of length in their life. So we will have our children here, and this will cause an unpleasant experience at the park because it doesn't necessarily do well for your ratings in terms of local facilities if you have a structure that is no longer existing, causing problems in the community. Now, this structure could also haunt a community in a more realistic way by having caused damage, or in implementing the building, the actual structures underneath the ground, maybe the piping system, could have been tampered with in order to fit the building, but now they are not to code. This would become a problem for people building things on the new plot of land, and would raise concerns, and obviously, in the end, cost money, which is the worst way to haunt someone, to cost them money. So, this is a problem that would generally arise if there were a skyscraper haunting a plot of land. So I hope that was a good explanation. That's the other word that was involved here. Now, if the skyscraper were explaining something from the dead, that would be a little bit more of a concerning idea. But I think in the realm of practicality that we have been discussing, it is more practical that I explain why the skyscraper would be haunting something else. So that is a generally finished picture. If you have any comments in on anything that I've talked about today, or you just have a general question for me and my projects, leave that in the chat while I'm finishing up here. I'll make sure to mention it if I see the comment in the chat. But I want to thank you guys for watching. We did have a relatively decent audience as opposed to what I normally see in the audience, and that's no hit on the people who normally watch. It's just nice to have a conversation during the stream here. So I hope that you enjoyed the relatively left field topic of soap dispensers, but I hope that I have also enlightened you on the realm of designing, but designing practically and questioning the societal norms. So I'm not seeing any questions in the comments. I will assume that everybody is satisfied with the description and the picture you see here. I will be streaming on Wednesday, so you can look forward to that. And hopefully by then I will have some updates on my AI, or at least some updates on the comic to talk about. But until then, I want to thank you guys for watching, and I will see you on Wednesday.